Secretary Nadine Dorries. Loads of people get angry with her. I think she's fantastic. In a podcast interview this week, said the idea of a tax to be able to watch your telly is completely outdated. Those of us who work in television will say we have for years had to make programmes that people want to watch so that we can sell adverts to justify our existence. The BBC, it seems, doesn't have to justify its existence and can follow its left-wing bias and pay people like Lineker however many millions it is a year to spout off. And the time has come, I think, when people say, why should we have no say on paying something and not being able to make a choice? Now, riding hot on the heels of plans to privatise that other television station I don't want to mention, the channel between 3 and 5, it sets a clear agenda, to be fair, for what Tory governments feel about the nation's media. How's it going to affect us? How are we going to lose? What are we going to gain? Joining me now, and delighted just for a quick chat, Joe Ventry, Digital Campaign Manager at the Taxpayers Alliance. Joe, welcome to TalkTV Breakfast. In your braces, me old son, thank you very much indeed. Can this government scrap the licence fee quickly?
I certainly hope so, Jeremy. I think this is a very promising announcement for the government. I think, to say that the TV licence model is outdated is an understatement at this point. I mean, even putting aside some of those traditional arguments that we hear for the moment, I think, one of the most telling points from the report that we've seen is this conclusion that there's a risk that so many people now no longer pay the fee, that the fee itself will increase. And I think, what does that tell us? I think that tells us that taxing people simply for owning a TV is simply something from a bygone era, that the model itself is now fundamentally unsustainable. I
think that's a really good description. The model itself is fundamentally unsustainable. And also, actually, morally, there's not really an argument. If they did more money in our pockets, a time of a cost of living crisis, especially for pensioners, and it seems to me a ludicrous rule. I guess you would share that frustration.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, let's think about it in terms of the current cost of living crisis. I mean, this month, lots of households across the UK will have received their £150 council tax rebate. Now, that, of course, was orchestrated by the government to give people some respite from these increasing energy bills that we're seeing at the moment. But it's not inconceivable that some of these people who will receive this rebate will now have to hand that money over to the BBC. I mean, how astounding is that when you think about it? All in all, a family that will receive this £150 rebate will be left £9 worse off when all's said and done because the BBC has come knocking. For a lot of people, that reform that we're talking about today will come too late, but I think it highlights the urgency of why this hated tax should be dealt with as soon as possible.
Let me put something to you. We only got a short amount of time, and I'm really delighted, Joe, that you joined us. We know that Netflix subscriptions and CNN Plus shutting and subscriptions down. The other side of the argument is, I don't agree with it, I'm just going to give it to you, is should we not then be protecting our state broadcasters? I mean, they say to allow creativity to flourish. I'm talking about choice. What would you say to that quickly?
I would say that the best way we protect them is to modernise them. After all, these reforms aren't there to destroy these institutions. They're there to modernise them. And I think bringing them up to date by looking at changing consumer patterns and what works best is the best way to protect them moving forward.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Joe Ventry.